Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Phocuswright analyst Brandy Wright.
The world of online travel is entering its third decade of existence. The birth of online travel started in the US in the mid-1990s, and innovation in online platforms then started trickling out to the UK, Japan, and onto the rest of the world. And while Western Europe was quick to keep up with the pace of online innovation, the rest of Europe, on the other hand, has historically trailed the rest of the world in online adoption. That is, until recently. Travel has always played an extremely important role in European culture. Exactly 3 in 4 French, German, and British travelers agree that travel is a very important part of their lifestyle. And Europe is the only region where consumers place higher priority on holidays than anything else for discretionary spending. Now, the reasons people travel don't change much from year to year, or even over the course of decades. The basic desire to take a break from the daily grind, the drive to see attractions around the world, these are generally always the top motivations for leisure travel. But the paths that people take before they even travel are rapidly transforming. Offline travel has always played a major role in European travel planning. Just in 2011, offline channels still accounted for 2/3 of travel gross bookings. And by offline, this largely refers to bookings made through calling travel suppliers, calling or visiting a retail travel agency, or even in-person bookings at hotels and airports. But European travelers are now embracing digital booking channels faster than any other region globally. Fast forward to 2016, and the share of online bookings has jumped to half of all travel revenue, or a little over 135 billion euro in gross bookings. Phocuswright's European consumer travel study collects data from travelers in France, Germany, and the UK. We asked them to identify the sources they use to book travel plans. And while European travelers have historically chosen a mix of online and offline channels, travelers have recently started to cut back on offline sources. The share of travelers that book exclusively online has jumped by double digits since 2014. But the fact that travel is moving online isn't exactly headline news. This is 2017. But what about those valuable devices that we keep in our pockets? Those devices that make it so easy to search for anything under the sun at a moment's notice. We're now approaching the 10th anniversary of the very first iPhone. So online travel has been around for a little over 20 years, and now it's been almost a decade since the launch of one of the most influential consumer gadgets. Smartphone ownership is still on the rise in Europe. Germany, especially, is really embracing mobile with the highest ownership rate of the 3 countries we collect data from. But while smartphones make such a huge impact on consumers' daily lives, how do the capabilities of mobile stack up when it comes to actually shopping and purchasing products? Smartphones are one of the easiest devices for consumers to turn to, not just for looking for flights and hotels on a whim, but for everyday items like clothing, household items, theater tickets, restaurants, and so forth. But searching for products and services is just one step of the shopping funnel. Making the purchase, of course, is where the money is. While travelers are quick to shop for everything under the sun on their smartphones, there's still quite a gap when it comes to making purchases. Or for travel, this is booking hotels and flights. And when it comes to various stages of travel planning specifically, we see the same type of behavior. The top 5 travel-related activities performed on smartphones are all for research-related activities. Travelers are researching destinations to visit, looking at how much flights and hotels might cost for that trip, and restaurants and activities to do while in destination. A lot of research and shopping, but not so much purchasing taking place on mobile. And that's because travelers are still turning to their desktop to book flights and hotels and the activities they plan to do in destination. Flight and hotel bookings are over 5 times as likely to be made on desktop and laptop computers than on the powerful, convenient smartphones sitting in our pockets. Phocuswright asks travelers about their comfort level with planning vacations on different types of devices. And it's evident that not everyone has embraced the switch from point and click to touch and swipe for the entire travel planning journey. Travelers may be turned off by the small screen size, limited keyboard functions, and again, for the majority of travelers who don't travel very often, they may be searching and planning while at home on their desktops. But many of those who do turn to their smartphones embrace mobile apps for their travel planning. 55% of smartphone users have at least one travel app on their smartphone. The number one type of travel-related app belongs to online travel agencies, beating out supplier apps. Again, online travel agencies are sources best used for researching and comparing options, and not necessarily always for booking. Younger travelers 18 to 34 who have been native to smartphones and digital devices their entire lives are 1.5 times as likely to have travel apps on their phone than older travelers ages 55 and up. So as we move from desktop to mobile and then to mobile apps, what does that mean for the mobile web? App users feel travel apps are easy to use, and they can easily find what they need from their favorite travel brands with just the touch of an icon instead of typing into their mobile browser. We're hearing it time and again that the mobile web is dead. But that's not necessarily the case in Europe. While apps do provide functionality advantages and therefore customer stickiness, it's not exactly wise for travel brands to completely overlook the role and power that the mobile web still has. We just saw that about half of smartphone users don't even have apps on their phones. Apps take up valuable real estate on phones, and for the overwhelming majority of travelers who take just 1 or 2 trips each year, downloading a travel app likely doesn't make sense when the app will rarely even be used. But again, just as younger travelers are more likely to have apps on their phones, they're also more likely to use those apps over mobile websites. So what about social? We can't talk about mobile apps without mentioning social media, which of course are the most popular types of apps out there. Social media has made an impact on travel decisions for quite some time now, but the landscape here is starting to change as well. Social media is more of an all-encompassing 360-degree platform for the entire travel life cycle. Social provides inspiration for travel in many different forms. Consumers can find ads and travel deals. And then travelers use the very same platforms for sharing their experiences during and after their trips. Without a doubt, Facebook remains the #1 social network for travelers of all ages. But visual social platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest are on the rise. And not surprisingly, the youngest of travelers are most active with visual sharing. Travelers under 35 are 4 times as likely to use these apps than travelers ages 35 to 54, and up to 10 times as likely as travelers 55 and older. We are constantly looking at all the different types of content that travelers interact with to see what's most impactful when it comes to making travel decisions. Online travel reviews have long held the top spot for the most influence on travel decisions. But now, for younger travelers, pictures and videos by friends and travel brands on social media has caught up and are now as influential as travel reviews. And travelers are using social media to tie together the entire trip experience, posting comments and statuses, photos and videos. It's the second most common way of sharing travel experiences, which falls just behind the personal conversations that travelers have with family and friends. So expressing travel stories on social media is the second most common way of communication. And messaging apps aren't far behind either. They're actually used just as much, if not more, than regular methods of texting on phones. And when it comes to chat and messaging, WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger are certainly leading the way. But it's a mixed bag between countries when it comes to usage. 3/4 of German travelers have been active on WhatsApp within the past year. French travelers are more likely to prefer Facebook Messenger, and British travelers are split between the two. And you guessed it, younger travelers are the most active users. Nearly half of travelers ages 55 and older have not even used messaging apps at all. And travelers can not only use their favorite messaging apps for communicating with their family and friends, but also for shopping and booking travel plans as well. They can type a question into an app, and a chatbot will generate a response. Or they don't even have to go through the effort of typing into an app. They can choose to speak into a device and have a voice-powered conversation about their travel plans. Almost half of smartphone users are comfortable with using text or chat apps for comparing flights and hotels. And comfort with voice-powered assistants, such as Siri on an iPhone or Alexa on Amazon Echo, is not far behind either. Shopping, of course, is always a more comforting experience, but the numbers drop just slightly for those who are comfortable with actually purchasing travel this way. So although Europe may have been behind much of the rest of the world for many years, Europe is at a new threshold, and travel planning is just not the same as yesteryear. Desktop computers and smartphones, mobile applications, the mobile web, social media, chat and voice-powered assistants. Travelers have so many options right at their fingertips, making it harder and harder for travel marketers to cut through the clutter. The pace of technology innovation is reaching a tipping point, and the rate of change of European travelers adopting all these modern methods of travel planning is starting to outpace the rest of the world, setting a new standard. Thank you.